Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel Rag-venturediaries. My name's John. Many of you who watch will know I've just returned from the Himalayas from a successful summit expedition of Island Peak at 6,189 meters. I've been asked quite a few questions, how I acclimatise effectively at altitude and maintain my health. So I've decided to put a short video together to go through that. If this is the type of content you find useful or are interested in, please follow along. So, follow these principles to give your body the best chance of acclimatising and to avoid getting sick in the mountains. No one wants to have to descend on the back of a mule to a place they've just climbed from, which can be quite a common sight in the Himalayas. Firstly, never sleep more than 500 metres higher than you did the night before. So you can climb as high as you like during the day, of course within reason. But don't sleep 500 metres higher than you did the night before. The body needs time to recover and adapt, and you need to give it every chance to do so. Next, stay 2 nights every 1,000 metres increase in elevation. So for every 1,000 metres you ascend, you need to stay 2 nights at that marker. You should be active during the day that you spend here, and so this is an ideal approach for acclimatisation treks. A general rule of thumb is to climb high and sleep low, and the previous 2 points have alluded to this. So an example might be staying at an altitude of say 4,400 metres for 2 nights, and on one of the days you're there, climbing to say 5,100 metres during the day and returning to 4,400 to sleep. Now whilst you're at altitude, you've also got to pay attention to hydration, eating and pacing, and as they say in Nepal on the latter, bistari bistari. Aim for about 3 to 4 litres of liquid intake per day, but that of course depends on your activity, and ensure you keep your energy levels topped up with meals, snacks, gels, bars if required. Above all, take it easy, as I've just said, bistari bistari, and don't withdraw amounts of energy that simply your body bank doesn't have. And then finally, symptoms. Be aware of these symptoms of acute mountain sickness and monitor how you feel. The symptoms on this slide could point to the initial stages of AMS, and if you do not manage that appropriately, there is a potential for more serious episodes such as high altitude cerebral edema and high altitude pulmonary edema. That said, if you adhere to these general principles, you should be off to a great start keeping yourself fit and healthy in the mountains. So we've just heard that at altitude it's quite common to have symptoms of fatigue, insomnia, loss of appetite and headaches and nausea. So having data that can help monitor these symptoms is extremely useful. And whilst at altitude, I like to get this data from my watches, and over the years I've used both Garmin and I'm currently using Coros. And I'm particularly interested in sleep, heart rate variability and oxygen saturation levels of the blood. In terms of sleep, I find it invaluable knowing the quality and duration that I've had. I find that a lack of sleep can seriously impact my performance, and so having data to support measurement of sleep can help identify strategies such as breathing, meditation, relaxation, adjusted bedtimes, and perhaps doing things such as reading before bedtime, making all the difference. HRV is time fluctuation corresponding to 2 consecutive heartbeats and is a normal irregular state of heartbeat. So measuring overnight HRV can return results enabling us to see if our HRV levels are elevated, normal, reduced or low. And if they are reduced or low, it may indicate that the body is under stress and it's fatigued, and additional rest or reduced pacing during the day's activities is required. And then finally, SpO2. SpO2 is a measure of the percentage of hemoglobin in your blood that is carrying oxygen. It's usually measured with a pulse oximeter, but many watches these days used for mountaineering can allow decent measurements. Now a healthy level indicates there is enough oxygen travelling through the bloodstream to meet the body's needs and the exertion of the day, but lower levels can result in hypoxemia and can be caused by asthma, pneumonia and lung damage. So it's really important to monitor in conjunction with these systems, as these could require immediate medical attention. Monitoring your SpO2 at altitude is not a silver bullet, but it is very useful. It does not diagnose acute mountain sickness or high altitude cerebral edema, but its value is indirect and helps detect worsening physiology or potential high altitude pulmonary edema. It is useful as it shows how the body is acclimatizing. It can help us identify overexertion, poor sleep, dehydration, whether we are ascending too fast, and early issues with acclimatization. And as such, the trend in the numbers matter more than the number themselves. It can help identify abnormal drops that may signal high altitude pulmonary edema. And for high altitude pulmonary edema, SpO2 is one of several useful clues only, and the symptoms must still be monitored diligently. But it helps guide decisions about whether to descend, because if SpO2 is stable or improving, we would say it's safe to ascend. But if it's dropping day by day, the decision must be to hold or to descend. And as such, on expeditions, it helps to decide the rest versus ascent question. It helps detect overexertion, and combined with HRV, can help us plan the next day's effort. So if the numbers aren't looking good, we know Bistari, maybe get on the back of the group, maybe take more rest. Extremely useful. And the context is valuable. If you develop symptoms, if you have a headache, nausea, fatigue, but your SpO2 is normal, it's probably normal AMS, and therefore normal treatments can apply, such as paracetamol, rest, hydrating properly and eating. Now the graph shows all of this information and where you can expect your SpO2 levels to reasonably reside at certain altitudes. But you should note, SpO2 does not diagnose AMS, it does not reliably diagnose HACE, and does not replace watching out for symptoms. The graph represents a rule of thumb, as some people naturally run lower, but this gives us a very good indication of the bands we should be in if we are acclimatizing well. And as such, it's another useful tool in monitoring our health and efficiency at altitude. So, whilst monitoring SpO2 is important, it must be used in conjunction with knowledge and experience. We have to understand that it is not a reliable indicator of acute mountain sickness, and we must monitor for symptoms of that. Almost everyone has a lower SpO2 at altitude, and you can have acute mountain sickness with a normal SpO2, and you can have a low SpO2 without acute mountain sickness. And it's important to note, acute mountain sickness is mild and treatable with rest and descent, and other methods. Now, a low SpO2 is a useful warning sign for high altitude pulmonary edema. A low SpO2 plus high altitude pulmonary edema symptoms, so breathlessness at rest, is a concerning flag for high altitude pulmonary edema. A low SpO2 alone is not enough. And then finally, a low SpO2 is also not a reliable indicator of high altitude cerebral edema. Again, we must be cognizant and monitor the symptoms of that. So basically, the rule of thumb for climbers is a low SpO2 plus no symptoms is meaning that it may be normal for altitude. A low SpO2 plus shortness of breath is a red flag for possible high altitude pulmonary edema. And a normal or low SpO2 with ataxia or confusion is a red flag for high altitude cerebral edema. The bottom line is, though, that symptoms always matter more than the number. I hope this brief video has answered the questions about how to acclimatise properly at altitude and about what to monitor when you are at altitude. One thing is for sure, medical issues can be hugely magnified when you are at altitude, but with proper management and experience, it is 100% possible to acclimatise, thrive, and have an excellent time at altitude. So, good luck on your next high altitude adventures, And don't forget, like and subscribe to help the channel grow.